So we are inside the box of rock with the one and only Chris Cornell, talking about the new record, Higher Truth.
Yeah.
I'm so happy to see you.
This is the box of rock?
This is the box of rock.
Okay.
You're king of the box today.
Excellent.
Wow. So talk to you a little bit like 2 seconds ago, saving the story for on air.
Mm-hmm.
Nearly Forgot My Broken Heart comes in. We plop it on the air. People go crazy. This record, I think, really has redefined you as the songwriter that you've always been, I think, to a whole new audience. So did you know that immediately these songs were going to connect?
No.
You didn't know?
No, I never know that.
Yeah, you don't.
I have my mood about every song kind of vacillates. It goes up and down. And so there will be moments when I feel like, absolutely, of course, that's going to connect with everyone.
Yeah, right.
And then I listen to it in a different mood and think, oh, I was wrong. And that bounces back and forth. And at some point, I just have to put it out there, and let other people decide. And I've said this a million times, like since the first releases that Soundgarden had, I never felt like I understood what made a single and what didn't make it. And I still feel like I don't really. I was always like a track number 7 or 9 deep album cut guy, even as a little kid. I gravitated toward the songs that didn't get a lot of radio airplay. I gravitated towards the sort of the more experimental songs that kind of got hidden deeper in the album, or on side B when there used to be sides,
Yeah, right. Sure, sure.
And so, having said that, Black Hole Sun, for example, was one of those songs to me. That's a deep album cut song, especially for a band like Soundgarden. That wasn't a song that was going to be a single, and I don't think any of us thought that. And so, I don't write for that. But if something works on that level, I think it's great.
Yeah, and I think this record really does.
I'm not mad at it. I'm very happy with that.
I mean, this record really does. It's got to be a different construction too, putting together and writing the songs for a record that you maybe feel in your soul is going to be an acoustic record.
Yeah, I think some of them came off sort of very simply as acoustic songs. They were conceived that way. They just kind of rolled out that way. And then other songs I had to wrestle with a little more because they didn't really come out that way, because that's not, that's not where I started necessarily as a songwriter. I did write a lot of sort of acoustic-based songs very early on, but when you're doing that kind of one song here and one song there, it's not the same thing as a body of like 12 or 15 songs.
When I first heard the record, I thought, well, maybe this is almost like a conceptual record, because it seemed to be so heartfelt. I mean, songs like Josephine, and it was really had such a big chunk of you in it. But I guess maybe not. I mean, I guess it's what I interpreted it as. I
think thematically or lyrically, it wasn't a concept album, but I think that kind of can naturally happen when you're writing in a particular vein. And in essence, sort of after the fact, I feel like there is kind of a similar character that I see existing in most of the songs. But in terms of the form of trying to write an album where each song works as an acoustic song first, and that was the criteria, I don't think I've ever really made an album before where I had criteria at all.
Sure,
so there's something, and having said that, like the version of the song Higher Truth that's on there, that's based on the demo that I did, that the original demo for that song that I did, that I felt like was wrong for the album. And I tried to rewrite the song, didn't work, really didn't work in a more sort of acoustic singer-songwriter context. It just didn't work. Having said that, when I just play the song now, the way that it's arranged on the album, and I just play it on acoustic guitar, it seems fine. But I think I got a little lost in there, sort of understanding what is that and what isn't that, and what matters more, Is it a song that I like, or is it that it seems to fit sort of the mold that I'm trying to make all the songs fit? And for me, I think the songs always have to end up winning.
Yeah, sure. Well, the tour too. I mean, when I was looking at the set list, I was thinking, my gosh, I mean, it's you, and then it's you and Brian Gibson out together, and that's pretty much it. I mean, you're really out there, you kind of naked, and it's not a short show.
No.
There's a lot of work in this show. So, wow, this is a big undertaking. And I don't think people realize, Chris isn't going sort of behind the drum kit like, all right, drum solo, I'm out for 5.
Yeah.
This is kind of a tough tour to be the guy front and center night after night, 2 hours plus, a lot of material, 30 songs spanning the entire body of your work. These are not easiest songs to sing. Did you have any trepidation about saying, I'm going to take this out on the road? And it's not a lot of nights off either.
I've done it before, and that's really where the album came from, was that I really enjoy this type of performance because it's so different.
Yeah, and tell us about Brian, because he's a really important part of the touring part of this.
Well, this is the first time I've had him out. This is, I guess the 4th time I've done this type of tour in North America, and I'd always done it alone. But Brian I'd met through a mutual friend of ours who had done some cello arrangements to a couple of songs that I really liked. So I had him come out as a guest. It was like 3 times or something over the last few years when I was in a city that he was in. And when I thought about bringing out the album and doing this tour again, I thought, maybe it would be good to have another guy come out and do some things, and he immediately was the first guy I thought of, because the cello kind of lends itself to some of these songs, particularly some of the older songs where it brings it into a world that no one has heard it in or would imagine necessarily hearing it in. But I felt like Higher Truth was a way to make this type of touring a living, breathing thing, with new material, with fresh ideas, and not just a look back. I didn't want it to be
well, I've never seen you as that. You've never really been that. When you think about your body of solo work, I mean, it's been a while. It's been 17 years or something. I mean, you've been out there a long time doing what you do. I would imagine it's a great time to be Chris Cornell as an artist, because you've got your body of solo work. Soundgarden is still a great, viable band. People call you now. I mean, I don't know how you're going to respond to this, but I have listeners that say, oh, Chris is like, he's the new Robert Plant. He's the voice, the classic rock voice of a new generation. Pressure? Funny? Does it
that
feel...
pisses me off.
I mean, but is it odd? Is it an odd thing to hear from people? Because I know you're a humble guy, and it doesn't seem like something that you would be really super comfortable hearing.
It's better for me to sort of not think about that kind of
I
stuff.
would imagine so. I would imagine so.
How I'm placed has never seemed to me to be a good idea to try to figure out or understand or believe. And I think that that's always a moving target, and it also always depends on who you're talking to.
Right, sure.
And it changes in a second, and there's no way to predict how it's going to change and all that fun stuff. So I just feel lucky, and I also feel and I have to say this, and genuinely I feel blessed with some pretty patient and enduring fans who put up with me kind of doing a lot of stuff.
No doubt. They love you.
And I've done a lot. I have often kind of taken hard right or left turns.
Yeah, the Scream record was great because you were a really fearless artist.
I think that was the most dramatic example. I think, for me it started with Temple of the Dog. That was
sure.
I knew that the 4 members of Soundgarden together in the context of what we were doing was a special thing, and that was about all I knew. And I didn't know that myself, as an addition to any other combination, was going to mean much. And that album kind of changed that thought process, where I realized that as long as you throw yourself into something and it's with the right people, you can do it in lots of different contexts, and that's where Audioslave was born, from that spirit of I didn't want to say no to having a creative relationship with those 3 guys, because I thought they were brilliant, and we wrote 3 albums like in a really short period of time, and they felt vital to me, and that's kind of informed what I've done. The other thing has been that I came from kind of a post-punk indie musical background where there were no rules, and basically you could kind of do anything you wanted, and that was the point of it. And I think Soundgarden was very eclectic from the start.
Mm-hmm.
We were not ever cornered stylistically, and that did something for me personally, in that I've never felt like I was cornered as a songwriter or as an artist to do kind of whatever I want, and I still feel like that.
Yeah, you've always been, I think, a really kind of fearless guy, willing to take a chance, kind of throw it against the wall, and see creatively how you feel about it in the end. And that's what I think the fans really, they love that authenticity about you.
I think that the more sense can be made of my body of work and the different things that I've done if you see this show too, because they're all sort of mercilessly brought into the exact same arena. Every period, every song. And I think it becomes a lot easier to draw a line through 30 years of songwriting and see, oh, okay, that kind of actually makes sense to me. A brand new song and a song that's 25 years old that was a Soundgarden song, but that I wrote for that. It starts to all sort of sound like it could come from one guy as opposed to a review of different periods. But I think I do agree with the notion that that it has to be at least 2.5 hours, otherwise I don't cover enough. I don't feel like I cover enough.
Yeah, sure. Of who you are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what people want to hear. So I think, at some point in the future, I'll take that Wayne Newton approach, which I noticed a long time ago. He was already doing it, where he has a choir, and they basically sing the song, and then he just throws a couple of heys and yahs in, and he gets away with it.
Right.
Totally.
I can't picture.
He never really sings the whole
picture
song.
you doing that, but I'm sure the fans would still come. And we're going to get another Soundgarden record. Do you look back now when you back in the studio with the guys too, and have like a greater appreciation for what it was then? At the time that you're doing it, and you're the biggest band in the world, and you're younger, it's very different than coming back full circle with the guys again. I would imagine that it really feels so good for you now, to be back making music with those guys also.
Well, I think it felt like a much shorter break than it really was once we got back in and started working. It didn't feel like we were aliens to each other, and our creative process was totally intact. And up to now, this minute, working on new songs, we're still doing things that don't sound like anything else we've ever done, and everybody is motivated in bringing music to the table, and it's this continuing, evolving thing, in the way that it was when we were writing our second or third LP.
Yeah.
This is us making, sort of treading into new material territory. It's the same thing.
Yeah. Chris, I thank you so much for the hospitality, and thank you for the great body of work.
Thank you.